So much has happened since the last time I made one of these updates. My apologies for not making one sooner. Ultimately, at the end of the day, my first priority is to be there for BNB members when they need me most. And that is always through these periods of market volatility. So when I have a bit of extra free time, I put together some market updates for you guys here on YouTube. It's Friday afternoon here in Dubai. Sun is about to set. It's Halloween. I thought I'd take an hour out of my day to prepare this update for you guys and give you an understanding as to where the markets are at today. And since the last time I made one of these updates, the market has changed a lot. So there is quite a bit to go through in today's update. And I want to explain to you guys, first of all, why waiting for altcoin season is not your ticket to financial freedom. And in fact, if you look at the most recent video I posted on this channel, you'll see that I warned as well, the ticket to financial freedom is not front running altcoin season either when there's no confirmed breakouts on the altcoin charts as a whole. So I warned you guys, don't get yourselves into altcoins too early and too deep. And unfortunately, the market has since blown up in that sense, and many people have damaged their portfolios in more ways then they can recover easily. So that brings us to today's video. Crypto Twitter, everyone's still talking about the potential for altcoin season. I don't know what these guys are talking about, but again, we just have all of this bullshit being posted on Twitter about how altcoin season starts in November, altcoin season searches are going parabolic, friendly reminder, altcoins are at rock bottom versus BTC. And then we have this take from Elio Trade saying, this keeps me awake at night. If this trend line extends into 2025 and 2026, we should see the biggest altcoin season of all time. While some believe altcoins will never compete with Bitcoin again, I see the potential for the biggest liquidity rotation of all time. Okay, is that a smart take? Elio, we'll have to see in a few months' time. Now, the reality here is that this is just a bunch of bull posting. There's no analysis here. There's nothing. There's no argument to be made whatsoever as to why altcoin season should just magically appear out of thin air. So that's where sort of your general Twitter, crypto Twitter sentiment is at amongst the bulls. In reality, when you look at the altcoin market, the altcoin season index has not been at levels like this outside of bear markets, right? The altcoin season yearly index is now lower than November 2022, lower than when it was the bear market. That means that there are less coins right now outperforming Bitcoin than there were in November of 2022 at the bottom of the current cycle that we're in. What does that tell me? Well, it tells us that this is a different cycle. This is a completely different market that we are trading in nowadays. And another prime example of that is the fact that this is the first red October for Bitcoin in 7 years, right? Assuming Bitcoin doesn't just put in a massive pump to end the month today, it is October 31st. It will be the first red October for Bitcoin in 7 years. It's not something you usually see in the world of crypto where you have a bearish October outside of a bear market, right? Even in the bear markets, usually the October is actually quite bullish itself. So I found this interesting tweet. I don't know if it's a great tweet. I would say it was just an interesting tweet in my opinion that I wanted to share with you guys about some observations on the crypto market, right? Obviously, people are giving up when it comes to this cycle, giving up entirely. And that makes total sense. I mean, there's not that much opportunity here in the world of crypto at the moment outside of holding Bitcoin, right? Maybe some select other coins here and there. But I thought this tweet was rather interesting. So number one, saying how it's pretty incredible how many people are giving up. I think that makes sense. Number two, absolute truth. It has been short bursts of up for Bitcoin this cycle with long consolidation periods, right? Number three, even more incredible how few people will be okay if we go lower, below 100K, right? I mean, the problem is when you look at crypto right now, if Bitcoin is to take another dive below 100K, the altcoin market is going to get torched again, right? It's going to create another liquidations cascade in the altcoin market beyond what we already just had. So the truth is that many people will not be okay if Bitcoin's price goes below 100K and the altcoin market sinks with it, right? We got everything we wanted. We got the Wall Street ETFs, we got the government supporting Bitcoin, but they're supporting Bitcoin, right? These institutional products are based around Bitcoin, some of them based around Ethereum and some other large caps, but they're not based on the broader altcoin market. Number six, if you do not know what you're doing, just hold Bitcoin long term, still believe it will reach a market cap, blah, 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 blah. I agree. If you don't know what you're doing, you're better off in crypto just holding your portfolio in Bitcoin than you are trying to divide it into 30 altcoins and call that diversification and think that that's going to magically pump to the moon, right? It's just not going to be happening. Honestly, the truth is here is that the altcoin market is dead for the time being, right? And that's okay. But what most people don't realize, because they're not able to look into this market with detail and they're not able to have an analytical mindset when it comes to what's going on with the market, is they're assuming that at some point point, there will be a blow off top to this cycle, and that we will have this massive raging altcoin season, and it's worth holding on to all bags, any and all bags, for that moment to come, and then magically time the top and sell it all, and of course retire on an island and drink pina coladas for the rest of your life. All right, this tweet couldn't be more true. Markets top on good news and they bottom on bad news. Notice how we've had all of the good news we could possibly get come out, yet the crypto market is still stair-stepping down. We had a summer of great news and the momentum started to die towards the end of the summer. All right, we got rate cuts. All right, we've got all of this positive economic data coming out, markets still going down. I dread to think of what happens to Bitcoin on the first piece of bad news we get. The market has well and truly shifted, and I, for one, refuse to be a part of it. I could care less about the intraday 1% bounces. I've traded enough last bear market and paid enough tuition to know that I simply do not want to be involved with it. Now, this is somebody saying it's not worth trying to be into crypto right now heavily. And I mean, when I say crypto, I mean the altcoin market, the broader market of crypto, when the conditions are this poor, right? These are conditions that you see inside of a bear market in crypto, not a bull market, right? And markets do top on good news and bottom on bad news. Now, we're basically rolling over right now in these charts. I mean, we could have a great bounce somewhere along the lines of the next couple of weeks or months. But the reality is that as soon as we get some bad news, if we do, crypto markets are not going to be able to handle that very well, especially the altcoins, right? That's what I'm making this video about. It's a warning to altcoin holders. It's a warning to those focused only on alts. You guys are missing the broader picture here. They're missing the broader perspective of what crypto truly is and what is valuable within crypto. And we'll talk about that more in a few minutes. Another tweet here. I just want to say that it's sad to see crypto in a position where it does not matter how much research you've done or how much conviction you've got, and you can't leave the screen for 30 minutes, let alone get 8 hours of sleep, because at any moment you get crime and manipulation from insiders that are aware of every geopolitical move Trump is about to make, or you get dumped on by digital asset trusts at illiquid times, blah, 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 blah. This is the truth of 2025 in crypto, right? You can't have a strategy that's passive, that just allows you to just sit back and let the market do its thing and it worked for you, right? Unless you're just holding Bitcoin, right? Which I know most of you guys aren't just holding Bitcoin, and that's been the best strategy, is to have a Bitcoin heavy allocation from the beginning of this year forward. And I mean, that's what I focused on coaching people as to the reasons why that's the case. But the truth is you can't give yourself an edge in this market, at least not, without a tremendous amount of full-time commitment to this and software and many other details stacked on top of that. And even in that sense, there's not a whole lot to work with in terms of crafting an edge or formulating, right? So unfortunately, this market has become really difficult for people to invest in. Now, when it comes to the experts, right, these are just opinions across Twitter. I don't know these individuals. I don't know who they are. Many of them are hiding behind NFT faces, right? With the exception of Elio Trades, he could be considered an expert. I guess. I mean, I don't know who qualifies these people, but I wouldn't be qualifying them as experts. But a lot of people seem to think that Raoul Pal is an expert when it comes to the world of crypto. And what they don't realize is that Raoul sounds so smart, and he's got this big research team behind him, and they've got all these product offerings, and he's got guys talking about global liquidity on his team and all these things and the everything code and, do not fuck this up and all the things that he says. But Raoul's made more bad public calls than he's made good ones, right? And that's the reality, is that last cycle he was irresponsibly long on Ethereum at the top and all the way through. And guess what? The market rolled over and Ethereum underperformed Bitcoin for the entirety of the bear market and wasn't worth holding. Should have been 100% Bitcoin. I can't hate on people who tout the Bitcoin narrative because they're right. They are encouraging people to do something that is productive for them financially. This is financial suicide, in my opinion, saying I'm all in on SUI, right? Or why I am investing heavily in altcoins as an ex-institutional investor with a supposed multi-8-figure net worth, right? In this case, you don't need to take on high risk with your capital, right? You're not at that stage anymore, right? And him tweeting most recently, meanwhile, SUI textbook wedge, right? SUI does not look good, guys. This is not a good technical chart, in my opinion. We'll go over it further in a second here when I get to the technical part of the update. But he's, making fun of people saying, oh my God, we're all going to die. I had one chance, it's over. And the truth is that the chance is not, right? It's over is more likely than unlikely when it comes to the majority of altcoins and vaporware that's in this cycle. So there's Raoul Pal. He's made tons of bad claims. You've seen me mention him a few times, right? And it's never my intention to bash people. I'm not a basher. I'm not here to talk badly about people behind their backs. podcast. What I am here is to make sure that you, as retail investors, are not misled by people that don't have your best interests in mind, right? They do not have your best interests in mind. Raoul Pal doesn't have your best interests in mind, right? He doesn't. Elio Trades doesn't have your best interests in mind. Again, this guy, mega fraudster, right? Involved in coins. Go click on his Twitter. You can see his YouTube description, something about all the disclosures he has in the coins he's invested in that he will advise on and in turn make videos about. I mean, what is this bullshit, right? This is just bullshit. This is just textbook fraud. And I think this is going to catch up to people in the future. And it's not going to be a chapter of their lives they're relatively proud of. I don't think it'll be a chapter of people's lives from a retail perspective that they're relatively proud of participating and following in these people blindly just because of their audiences instead of their actual career history of being investors, right? I mean, being a crypto influencer and being an actual investor are two very different things, right? They are not to be coerced as one or sort of bundled into one package. So I think this was just a terrible take. Again, people think Elio's an expert. People look at Raoul Pal and go, this guy's older, he's smart, he's mature, he talks well, he's ex-Wall Street. He must know, right? He must know. He knows more than me. And I don't think that's the case, right? I would, happily have a podcast with Raoul and hash it out with him as to why he's been wrong for so long and, hopefully see him change his mind on some perspectives. I don't know if he's financially incentivized behind the scenes as to what's going on with crypto or just maybe being in the crypto industry and making content around all this sort of stuff for clicks is a great way to drive business revenue. I have no idea what the true intentions are behind any of this posting, but I don't think it's to benefit you at the end of the day. Okay. Now, what's interesting is this is what came out earlier today. It's October 31st today. And many of you guys also consider Luke Belmar to be an expert in the crypto space, right? Many people joined Gem Hunters thinking that was the best absolute place to, get into crypto this cycle. And, they buy into this narrative that Luke has been this extraordinary crypto investor for, all these years and that he is the guru, right? So if you watch this video, you'll see some pretty shocking things about Luke. And I'm not here to comment on him or bash him specifically, but Luke is a textbook offer hopper, right? He is a textbook person who takes his audience and monetizes it in the best way that he can that's aligned with current trends and what people want to buy. So if you go back a few weeks ago, his Twitter would have said, join Gem Hunters, right? Boom, boom, boom. Now that he's getting all this backlash about crypto and ecom, he comes up with this new course, which is called Ecom Society, right? Okay, after 8 months of hard work, we've revealed this, blah, 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 blah. Now, Luke is slowly being exposed at the moment for some shady shit, in my opinion. You can watch this video to see more about what's happening. And, I'm not here to say whether Luke's legit or not. I really don't know the guy from page 2. I've met him a few times in person for very, very brief conversations. But would I say he's a crypto expert? By no means. But this influence these individuals have allow people to just blindly trust, right? And ultimately, I would say, this particular cycle, what Luke has made his money off of is taking brand deals, which is essentially being a KOL for projects, and then sharing those projects with people on Twitter to pump them, right? Same thing with selling Gem Hunters, right? Selling thousands of people into Gem Hunters for thousands of dollars, an admission fee, and, basically creating a group all around altcoins, trading and investing. The group isn't even led by him. It's other analysts that he's hiring to do it on his behalf, right? Again, talking head versus actual sit-down investor that looks at the charts, that reads all this stuff every day. It's not happening, right? It's not happening with a lot of these individuals. They're just influencers, right? They're just influencers. And I'm telling you guys, you don't want to be caught up in the narrative of what the influencers are telling you because oftentimes it's wrong. And this has been such a challenging market that you have no time to give to people who are not on the ball with this market 24/7, right? I watched this podcast earlier in the week about, is the bull market over? And I did quite honestly, the thumbnail caught me. And I knew this was bullshit because they're saying everyone's scared. Here's why we're not. And then I looked into this guy and he's just an XRP talking head. It literally says in the first minute of this video, introducing this guy, blah, blah, blah. He's a, leading KOL and influencer. Anyone who's a KOL or an influencer in crypto is not your friend. Okay. Unless you're an insider with them and they're giving you insider information, and that's illegal, right? So anyone who's influencing you or anyone who's shilling a project to you doesn't have your best interests in mind. I know for a fact that this individual runs a mastermind called the Altcoin Advantage, and that altcoins somehow are this magic ticket to wealth creation, where in previous cycles they have been, right? We can't throw that out the window. But in the second half of this cycle, that has not been the case to be a heavy altcoin focused investor. And again, there's a lot of talk about XRP, and there's just, I think, a lot of smoke and mirrors going on here. I don't know where the true alpha is, the true expert analysis, in my opinion, is coming from a lot of these individuals. I don't see it, to be honest. And I have a lot of experience here. So I just want to warn you guys. That's why I make this content, is to warn you guys as to things that may hurt you financially when it comes to investing in these particular asset markets. Now, I saw this podcast. I didn't think there was any alpha in here. Again, I don't really have a big opinion on these two individuals. I don't know them. But what I would say is it doesn't seem very legitimate to me. And I would be scared, right? I would be scared if I was holding a basket of altcoins and running an altcoin only mastermind, because there's not a lot of opportunity happening in the altcoin market. So I don't make this to bash on other people. I make this to warn you guys that there are so many options out here for you to spend your hard-earned money on when it comes to buying access to information and buying access to things that you think will put you ahead that may actually be putting you behind. Just go do your due diligence, right? I'm not saying what is offered by these individuals is bad or is good. That's up to you to make your own decision. Do your own research on this. But I'm warning you that there's more to the eye, or there's more that meets the eye initially with a lot of this stuff. And it's selling influence more than it's selling access to quality information. So again, everyone thinks altcoin season around the corner. I know, Belmar was promoting altcoin season. Join Gem Hunters, get in. We've crushed it with Astray and Astray buybacks and finance. I mean, he's just getting roasted on Twitter recently. I don't think he's doing himself any favors whatsoever. But I want to hone into reality. What is the reality of the situation right now in the world of crypto? And I'll share what reality is with you guys. This is a sideways market. You have Ethereum, which was in a very strong uptrend, rolled over into a downtrend, getting rejected by the 50-day and 20-day moving averages, right, on the daily chart. That's not a bullish sign. Bitcoin, the same thing, stuck in this range that it's been in for, since May, right? Since all the way back here in the spring, it's stuck at the bottom of this range that it's been forming. It's been basically at the same price since the beginning of the year. So Bitcoin stuck. As a result, Ethereum stuck and rolling over, and there's no renewed strength in the altcoin market. Now, ETH was great. We rode this one in BNB until it started to, really show some signs of breaking its trend up here. But besides that, there's really not any opportunities in this market right now, and even Bitcoin has been shaky and sideways. Now, my opinion on Bitcoin doesn't change. Fantastic long-term investment, best store of value, best hedge against inflation, hedge against currency debasement, to be blended in your portfolio with gold depending on your age. If you're younger, you have higher risk tolerance, you can hold lots of Bitcoin. If you're older and you have a lesser risk tolerance just because you have less time in this world to create and multiply wealth, then you hold some gold, right? With, the expectation or at least the awareness that potentially Bitcoin may not work out, right? Nothing is 100% certain. In my opinion, Bitcoin's a fantastic long-term investment, but I wouldn't put 100% of my net worth in Bitcoin and never diversify into anything else. Now let's look at Sui, for example. I think Sui by now has probably broken this wedge that Raoul Paul was mentioning in that tweet and is headed for new lows most likely. Unless Bitcoin starts to bounce and lead the market higher, we are going to see these altcoins continue to roll over. And the problem is, people say this is a bull market. Again, there was elements of this market that were very bullish for specific coins, right? There's been mini pockets of explosion, right? Up until Bitcoin sort of started to top out in this range here. ETH started to explode. We had some opportunities with rebounds in some of these coins over the summer. But really what you're seeing is lower highs from December, right? Lower highs on Sui, lower highs on Chainlink, meaning the summer rally that we had, even though Bitcoin went to new all-time highs, even though Ethereum went to new all-time highs, briefly, the altcoin market as a whole did not go to new all-time highs. It printed a lower high, right? And it printed a lower high against Bitcoin, and many of these altcoins couldn't even outperform Ethereum, which just shows you how little strength there is in this market, right? Everyone's fan favorite, XRP, barely printed a new all-time high over the summer, rolls over hard while Bitcoin, is trading sideways, now back below 200-day moving average. Astray. In a bull market, when you have new coins that capture the hype and the adoption perfectly as to what the market wants to see, they trend for a matter of months, not just a quick 2 weeks. Maybe this was a week of pumping and then it rolled over with a lower high and now it's all the way back to where it started on the listing chart here at MEXC. So again, this market is an extraction market. It's extracting capital from retail investors that are just throwing their money out into the altcoin market and gambling and throwing chips on the table when they know they don't have a strong hand, or they don't even realize they don't have a strong hand at the table. But the problem is that it's taking people's hard-earned money away from them through gambling versus thoughtful investing. Now, I have not been diversified into the altcoin market across multiple positions for a very long time in this market cycle. I've been very selective. I've been very defensive. I've been very heavy Bitcoin. I've been only looking for outperformance opportunities against Bitcoin, most notably Ethereum. Recently, we caught a Solana move in BNB. And then again, the market started to get a bit shady at the beginning of October, right? We had that breakout. Things looked good. Not a whole lot of altcoins started to move with Bitcoin. Couple did. We had Sol started to break out here and move a bit. We had, Hyperliquid that was starting to move. And then unfortunately, Arthur Hayes stepped in and said, hey, going to be a little bit careful here. I'm going to get out of Hyperliquid with my fund. And I think people started to move out of hype based off of that. But again, range bound, Solana, same price for 2 years in a row, right? Is that investing? Hyperliquid, nice run. We caught the majority of this run in the spring. Haven't touched it since because it's just not been performing, right? It's just not been really showing any signs of parabolic growth that you want to see in the altcoin market. Risk adjusted wise, it's not worth chasing after all of this stuff. So again, risks, right? People throwing money at all these risks. And what's the reality here is that we had October, we had that breakout, we had the massive crash, right? We had that huge crash on October 10th that exposed a lot of cracks in the market, a lot of cracks in my opinion. And I was very vocal very quickly in BNB about this with members where, we didn't really have too much positioning across the board when it comes to high risk stuff. We were basically just holding Bitcoin, positioning in ETH, and we had one other project that I actually cut before the crash even started so that we didn't even get ourselves into a sticky situation when it comes to altcoin positioning. So majority of Bitcoin, some Ethereum, the crash happens. And in this case, right before we had this, I was starting to notice in September, we're getting these rate cuts, stock market's moving really well, Bitcoin's a little bit choppy, but September historically is not Bitcoin's best month overall, right? Ethereum's kind of losing a little bit of its luster. What's kind of going on here, right? Thinking about that. So I started to search and what's going on with opportunities out there. And, at the beginning of October, I prepped members for the fact that we would likely have a pretty bullish Q4 if things played out with, what's been going on in the world of macro and, the seasonals with crypto. But I talked about on that call at the beginning of October. Here you can see October 2nd. This is a slide from it. I talked about how Bitcoin is the strongest long-term savings vehicle, right? But explosive moves are not happening in the altcoin market, and they're not realistic anymore when it comes to Bitcoin in a short period of time, right? So crypto investors can speculate on short-term narratives, but there's a lot more opportunities emerging outside of crypto and equities tied to AI, tied to robotics, tied to quantum computing, right? So for me, I already started to look into what was going on outside of this market, into a way that I would actually want to formulate for my personal investments and share with people in BNB, which is essentially all that I do. You want to see what I do? BNB is the place for, where I invest my money and how I'm doing so. So on this call, I announced, hey, I'm going to be looking at new opportunities and I'm going to be posting them very soon in this group, right? And it just so happened to be that we had a crash a week after that just basically sort of hard forced that pivot for me in many ways, which was, in my opinion, a great thing. While most people in the market got absolutely killed, we were able to come away from that crash virtually unscathed, right? Giving back a little bit of profits on Ethereum to the market, but overall not taking losses, right? Not taking losses on the market and on positions, and also, averaging into Bitcoin, for many different great buying opportunities throughout the cycle in BNB. So, it's not like we're suffering in the market at all when Bitcoin's going down, 5%, 10%, no big deal. Altcoins are going down 40, 50, 70%. That's a problem. Then I actually most recently had an amazing member of the team join us, Alex. And Alex is now our lead analyst alongside me and junior developer at Alpha AI, building software tools for the group. And I said, guys, you know what? Alex and I are going to run this thing together. Alex is going to focus on everything that I've been focused on, and I'm going to now branch out and start to look at equities and see what opportunities I can bring to you guys in a way that, we can tangibly invest in them, right? Outside of what we've been looking for previously with crypto related equities. So a couple of great updates there in the group. And then the next week we have this massive flash crash on the Friday. And I came out into the group and I posted a number of market updates saying this is not a good sign for the crypto markets to see this kind of momentum being lost so fast, right? Even right after an all-time high breakout, we have that immediate fake out on Bitcoin, immediate fake out on ETH, massive move lower out of alts. And I said, guys, the vast majority of altcoins look to be entering or sustaining bear market territory, trading below weekly bull market support bands, weekly 50-week moving averages. Not a good sign, right? That's not a bull market. And I even said Bitcoin is on the verge of losing its weekly bull market support band, which it now has, and it's been currently testing the bull markets or the 200-day moving average, ETH underperforming Bitcoin. And I said to the group, and this was not long after the crash happened, I said, this leaves me to partially conclude that there is no active spot long opportunity in this market, but let's see the weekly closes first. And I provided a lot of warning signals to any people that, weren't following my strategy, that were more altcoin heavy, that were more diversified, that weren't holding any Bitcoin, that were opting to hold just, all ETH or all alts instead. There's always going to be those kinds of people who think they can outsmart the market and outsmart the person that's doing all the research. But anyways, the reality is that the market just annihilated people, right? The October crash exposed this truth that many people are still avoiding. Most altcoins are complete vaporware. They're destined to trend towards zero. They're just attention vehicles, right? You don't have any attention on crypto. You don't have any capital in crypto. The projects start to die. There's really only two projects worth owning in crypto. And one of them's not a project. One of them's a store of value, which is Bitcoin. And the other one is a tech project called Ethereum. And maybe even Ethereum might not be worth holding over Bitcoin considering it's underperforming. And if you don't know how to gauge those two things, you need to look at the ETH BTC chart, which I've covered a number of times on this channel. But the 2017 and 2021 playbook of rotating through small cap alts during alt season worked when there was less tokens, there was way more money in this market, way more liquidity, a lot more naive investors, a lot more dumb money. And nowadays it doesn't work anymore. You have millions of tokens, you have thousands launching daily. It's mathematically impossible for the entire altcoin market to pump. This is why I'm saying this video is titled, Waiting for Altcoin Season is not your ticket to financial freedom, because it's not coming the way that you think it is, right? And the bottom line here is that October 2025, that big dip that we just had at the beginning of this month, October 10th, it was not a dip to buy, okay? It was not a dip to buy. It was a regime change to respect the fact that the altcoin market caught a cold that it likely is not going to recover from anytime soon. S&P 500 has gone on to make new all-time highs. NASDAQ made new all-time highs. Many stocks made new all-time highs this month. Altcoins crashed, failing to recover. Bitcoin dominance climbing, meaning altcoin market share is decreasing, while you have all of these influencers promising next month altcoin season, next month altcoin season, join my altcoin group, join my gems, get my winning picks of altcoins. Guys, people are lying to you. The data doesn't lie though. The capital flows don't lie though. Institutional allocations are not lying. Look at the ETF inflows and outflows on Bitcoin and Ethereum, right? When you look at where the money in the world is moving right now, it's chasing innovation, okay? It is chasing the AI infrastructure boom, and it is a real boom. It is not a fictitious altcoin season foo-foo narrative of vaporware. It is a real boom happening through the funding of Fortune 500 companies, through their capital expenditures, their CapEx. They're spending billions, guys, hundreds of billions, some of these companies, on chips, on data centers, on power, on anything related to AI to make their businesses more efficient and more profitable for their shareholders. That is where their opportunity is right now, in my opinion. Altcoin season is not it. Altcoin season is a meme, right? There's $19 billion in liquidations, probably even more that happened. So many people got wiped out in crypto. So many people just recently lost everything when it comes to crypto and have thrown in the towel and will not come back to this market, right? Anytime soon. Funds going under, market makers potentially going under. We don't know the full ramifications of all of what happened earlier this month, but a lot of people got hit and smoked hard in this market. And the truth is, if you're one of those people, or you were lucky enough to not be one of those people who got damaged too badly and you still have your capital, it's not a good idea to just be patient waiting for altcoin season, because you're going to be left behind. The winning trade, guys, the winning trade is visible in what happened in October. You want to own the infrastructure that's powering the future, because we had a dip in the stock market, right? Tariff dip that also caused this crypto dip to start off and cascade. Stock market fully recovered. Crypto's drifting to new lows, right? So that tells you everything you need to know about where the opportunity is in the market. So what did we end up doing in BNB, right? Well, I'd already started working on my new research strategy, and this basically just forced it to happen a little bit faster for the group and for myself. And I started to share it with people. I started to share the key investing themes that I identified for 2025 and 2026. Global AI adoption, infrastructure build out, rare earth minerals, commodities, monetary debasement hedges, which we're already invested in, being Bitcoin. Now, it'd be funny for some of you guys to go, isn't Luke a crypto guy, right? Isn't he the crypto guy? Why is Luke looking at stocks? Is he not believing in crypto anymore? And the reality is, I'm here to trade the market. I'm here to give myself the best opportunity to invest in the world of global financial markets. I'm not stuck in one lane. Now, crypto was undoubtedly where the opportunity was at for 2020, 2021. If you're stacking back in at the lows of 2022 and 2023, undoubtedly amazing opportunities. But in 2025, those opportunities have gotten thinner, right? And dramatically thinner as you go through the rest of the year, to the point where I was like, don't think this is the spot for my money anymore if there's not a whole lot of opportunity here. And I could have just done it simply. I could have said, you know what, guys, we're not going to worry about, the market right now. We're just going to hold on to our positions and see what happens, hold Bitcoin, farm some airdrops, and we'll see what happens. No, I decided to 10x my workload, quite literally 10x my workload, by getting into this market and doing tons of research for it myself and publishing the research for members in the group to help people move ahead, right? To invest in these new themes that are quite honestly doing amazing in the stock market, right? So I started to share this strategy with people that I came up with, the AI investing strategy, which is the age of compute. And I created a core thesis and a sector framework, and I started to share that with members over the past couple of weeks. And we pivoted on a dime in BNB. We did not waste any time. We did not look for dip buying opportunities in the altcoin market. We did not sit there and lick our wounds and suffer through the market. We decided to move on quickly. I led the group through this transition very, very quickly. And I created research guides, and I did multiple hours of call recordings for the group. And I built out a new portfolio that I started allocating to on October 21st, right? And we've done really well. We've done very, very well in a short period of time by chasing the performance in the market, right? We're all about where are we going to seek out performance against Bitcoin, and we started to capture it right off the bat. You can see, I'll give you guys one position. I've blocked off the rest of the watch list here out of respect for the people that are in BNB paying for my work. But here, right? Up 17%, up 14%, 12%, 11%, 10%, 10%, 4%, 4%, up a ton while the altcoin market is doing one of these. While Bitcoin is rolling over, boom, pivoted our altcoin capital, moved it over to stock brokerages, and immediately jumped into positions that were trending, that I did an arm and a leg of research on in a condensed period of time, figured out what the best allocations were in the market, and started to help people move along this strategy. Now, again, this is what most people don't expect to get out of a crypto group. Is if crypto starts trending down, okay, maybe help me avoid the drawdown, right? Help me avoid making sure I hold on to the bag all the way through the crash and the bear market. But that's pretty much all people expect, right? No, go above and beyond. Start showing people that I'm not just here for crypto. I'm not just here for my own best interest for you to, jump into my crypto program and for me to sit on my butt and do nothing when there's no opportunity in crypto. No, moved and pivoted to provide outperformance opportunities for myself and for members right off the bat. And look at that. Our new core and adaptive portfolio in the equities market is outperforming Bitcoin from the day that we jumped into it, right? Adaptive average up, total average up, core average up, Bitcoin down, S&P down. So outperforming S&P, outperforming Bitcoin, and again, outperforming the broader altcoin market, which is doing nothing. Now, many of you guys may be wondering, well, what did your members think of this, right? Member feedback, tremendous. I've never had more people be so excited about BNB and be reaching out to me with such positive messages about the direction of the program from, a large overview. Of course, people are happy with the results. They're happy with the onboarding process. They're happy with getting direct access to me. But I've never seen people so happy about us making a big picture change to the program that is, relatively complicated for us to execute and complicated for people to initially get up to speed with. But people are so happy with this. You can pause the video. You can read what these people have been saying about our update. We have Daniel, for example, saying, I wanted to say really quickly this morning that I love your new approach and focus on equities. You've helped us also strategically navigate the market and the macro conditions. You're such a mature and strategic investor, right? This is the feedback that BNB members give me. This guy loves BNB, made great money on ETH, now moving over to equities. Another member here, Samantha, very interested in the new pivot over to equities and my approach here with the markets. Claudio, super happy. Tom, super happy. These guys joined recently. Daniel's been with us for a while. Samantha's been with us for a while as well. And we're quite honestly crushing it in this market while everyone is spinning in circles in the world of altcoins, licking their their wounds, waiting for the market to pump when it may or may not happen. And again, I said, this is where the money is flowing. This is where we should be focused on. And this is where I started to focus. I made Amazon one of the anchors in my core equity portfolio based off the expectation that Amazon is not a delivery company for goods and products. Amazon is a web company. They are Amazon Web Services, which is getting heavy into AI. They have massive CapEx spending, and they're focused on spending with value, right? They're making their own chips. They're not going and paying the NVIDIA bill. They are going and doing things their own way. Amazon smashed earnings yesterday, up 13% pre-market. Market's just open now. Again, this is what we're focused on. This is results that are happening to members in real time right now. Everyone in the group is up very nicely on Amazon while the altcoin market is in shambles. So again, you can do this. You can try and outsmart the crypto market when it doesn't give you anything, or you can work on easy mode in the equity market with us and get results literally in 1 week. We're already up a significant amount in our portfolios as a combined average, depending on how you weighted it, which portfolio adaptation you followed from me, how you decided to weight things. The outperformance is there. It doesn't lie. The results do not lie. Members are very, very, very happy. So here's my conclusion on this scenario, guys. We've talked about a lot today. We've talked about, people and their bad takes. We've talked about the fact that the timeline is in shambles across Twitter. We've talked about the fact that the charts don't look good, that the opportunity is happening in the equities market, and that it's not a short-term, short-lived hype wave. It's a long-term capital expenditure boom that is happening for this technology. This is what I'm focused on. Again, if you want all my research, you can find it in BNB, but this is where the opportunity is on. I don't think you should be scrolling crypto Twitter every day looking for the next airdrop to farm or yield strategy or low cap altcoin or meme coin. Like it's a waste of your time as a human being on this planet to try and force opportunity from an industry that's not giving you anything versus going to where the opportunity is and riding the bandwagon of the trend, right? The trend is your friend until it is no longer. So my conclusion here is that mega cap earnings, of course, are showing us right now that the market is strong in equities, right? It is not to say we can't have downturns and we can't have dips, but the dips in the equities market are for buying. The dips in the crypto market, in my opinion, are not for buying outside of Bitcoin because there's no real tangible value being created. In the world of AI, the build out and the CapEx is justifying the fact that the markets are moving, right? The markets are moving tremendously higher because of what's happening is real versus fake, okay? A lot of crypto is fake. A lot of crypto is smoke and mirrors. I've been in this industry long enough to know I've made fantastic decisions and I've made bad decisions, and I've ultimately learned from those bad decisions, and I've helped people in BNB avoid those before they have to make those mistakes on their own. You're going to pay tuition to the market at some point, right? You're most likely going to pay a combination of tuition to the market and tuition to people to teach you how the market works. My goal is to make sure you pay as little of a tuition to the market as possible, to avoid mistakes that cost retail investors thousands, hundreds of thousands, and some people that I've worked with even millions of dollars in that case before they decided to get their quote unquote shit straight with their investments and work with a professional like myself. If you want more content from me, you can subscribe to this YouTube channel. You can follow me on Instagram at lukedavis.ig, and you can follow me on Twitter at lukedavisbnb. I post reels on crypto. I post reels on macro trends and how to read market indicators that most people don't understand how to read. I post it in a very simple to understand way, and that's why people love my content. So you can follow me there. I also have an announcement channel where I post my thoughts on the markets in real time in my brain channel. I'm not as active there as I should be, but again, shoot me a DM, say you came from YouTube, you want me to post in Luke's brain, and I will. Now, if you want to follow what I'm doing with this new strategy, if you want to get a second opinion on where you're at with your crypto strategy at the moment and where you potentially could have some better opportunities following us in other markets, Bull Market Blueprint is an option that you may want to consider only if you're investing with $100,000 or more. Again, I do not work with low capital or beginner investors without any capital because that's not the opportunity for you guys. The opportunity is for you to go out and find a way to create an income stream for yourself and build up some savings to move into your investments and then come and talk to me. But for any of you guys that have 100K or more in the markets, that you don't know what you're doing with, that you're spinning around in circles results wise, you don't have a strategy for your crypto, you don't have an equity strategy, you're stuck in crypto, you don't know how to pivot, maybe you're stuck in equities and you have no idea how to get involved with Bitcoin and set up your portfolio for the long-term opportunity that is Bitcoin, Bull Market Blueprint is the place for you. Again, we are rated 5 stars on Trustpilot with dozens and dozens of reviews. You can go and reach out to all these people if you want, ask them about their experiences in BNB, and they'll give you an honest answer, which is positive, right? I can't say that for the rest of the market. I can't say that for my competitors in the space that offer garbage. I can't say that for all the people that follow these individuals, right? What I can say for myself is that my reputation is golden in this space, because I'm not here to lie to people. I'm not here to be an influencer. I'm here to deliver results to people and give them a no bullshit answer as to what's going on with the market and show them portfolio transparency. What am I doing with my own money? You can see it in BNB every single day. So with that being said, if you're wanting a new approach to the market and you don't want to wait 3 weeks for a YouTube update that will come too late for you to best take advantage of what's going on in the market, I encourage you to apply for BNB. You can scan this QR code with your phone for the link to our application system. You can go to bullmarketblueprint.com and you can see exactly what it is we're up to. You can explore our Trustpilot reviews. You can message me on Instagram. You can message these people if you can find them on Instagram and ask them about their experience in Bull Market Blueprint. What we do is legit. I work here around the clock every single day at my desks in this office, working for opportunities to find this market for myself and pass on to those who are invested in me in Bull Market Blueprint. So again, happy Halloween. Could be a scary one if you're a crypto investor only focused on altcoins. For all of us that are sitting pretty in Bitcoin, stable coins, and AI related equities, we're having fun tonight. The party's on. I'll see you in the next video. Cheers.